Hello and welcome to Building Geek Cred, brought to you by the Werewolf and Borg. I'm your host, John DeCook, and on this episode we'll be unboxing the Batman the Animated Series game by IDW Games. Let's talk a little bit about it first, and then we'll see what's inside. The release of Batman the Animated Series by IDW is a little bittersweet moment for me. IDW Games has been around in the publishing for many, many years. They've, according to BoardGameGeek, produced 122 games and expansions in that time. Undoubtedly, the most famous of theirs is Machi Koro and all the expansions that came with that. If you're not familiar with it, it's a nice little card game. You're collecting cards trying to build a city. Very nice, plays very well, simple to pick up. There's a new edition out. I don't know who does the new edition, but there's a new version out now. At any rate, IDW came up with a very clever system called the Adventures Universal Game System, AUGS. Published two titles previously under it. That would be the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, and then followed it up with City Fall and Changes Constant, along with some expansions for that. This uses the exact same system. Now, what's very clever about it to me is each hero character has their own unique set of 3 dice, and those dice have a specific set of icons on them. You roll them, you place them in order in front of you. Now, what's unique about it is you get to use the rightmost die of the person to your left and the leftmost die of the person to your right. So the order in which you place the dice definitely have an effect on the game. You have 5 dice to use, 3 of your own, and you get to use your partners. Now, that's true in most cases. For example, in Ninja Turtles, Raphael's a loner. He doesn't use anybody else's dice. He plays entirely by himself. But it does matter which heroes are playing, which order you sit around the table, and on every single roll you have to decide how to best lay out your dice to strategize with your partners to play. You are playing cooperatively against a scenario in the game. And much like the Ninja Turtles, the scenario booklets are printed up as episodes of the cartoon. Yes, that is exactly right. The cartoon ran back in the 90s for 85 episodes. They've selected specific episodes that were considered the best or most impactful, I guess, and they've turned them into comic book pages. So you read a little bit of the scenario, it gives you some background, some introduction to it, you lay the scenario out and you play it, and it's like you're playing the episode on TV. It's really a fantastic little system, and the reason I say this is a bittersweet moment is IDW Games announced in September of 2021 that they will be ceasing production of all games going forward. So they produced one that was not through Kickstarter, but it was only offered as a pre-order on their site. It's Men in Black crossed with Ghostbusters. It's called Ectoterrestrial Invasion. The characters are kind of chibi, but there's an awful lot in that box, and there's a lot to love about that game. This is the final game they've produced then. They did commit to producing everything they did in the Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter was for this huge box called Shadow of the Bat. And when I say huge box, this is a very big box. Very heavy. It's got 5 different heroes in it, and each of those heroes again has their own set of dice. It's got a series of different villains included with it as well. Also some minions, so you've got your typical enforcers, thugs, stuff like that. That'll help the villains out as they go. But again, a whole series of different scenarios, a bunch of cards that come with it. Now, the Kickstarter included 2 different levels. This was the base level. It also included what it called the all-in level, and the all-in level got you the all-in box. Now, again, same size this way. If you look from the edge, though, it's considerably thinner, but it has so much content it's unbelievable. Because what they did was added extra episodes. So you've got Mask of the Phantasm, Mystery of the Batwoman, and the new Batman Adventures in here, as well as a villain pack for Duplicant and a villain upgrade pack. Now, what's interesting about that, each of the different sets they came up with, so Mask of the Phantasm, Mystery of the Batwoman, and New Batman Adventures, includes new heroes with their own sets of dice. So you can see on the front, you've got Nightwing, you've got Batgirl, you've got a whole series, rogues gallery of villains in here. You look at everybody that's on the cover of this, it's unbelievable what they added to this. There are a handful of extra minions in here. I believe Poison Ivy gets her killer plants and those kind of things. But what's really fascinating to me is the villain upgrade pack. What that allows you to do is play every single villain in the game as if they were a hero. Now, they didn't make unique dice for each of them. They came up with 4 different types of dice that fall under different categories. So if your character's more of a brawler, or if they're an assassin, whatever it is, there's 4 different sets of dice, and you can actually play any set of dice with any villain you want, mix and match as you choose. Each card recommends a set of dice to use that is more befitting of that character, generally speaking, but you can do whatever you want with the villain. So it's kind of interesting. They made it generic. There's 4 sets of dice. So without buying extra dice, if you're playing villains and you're playing 4 villains, you're stuck. Each person can only take 1 of the individual groups, but it does give you some variety. So this was the full-blown purchase that you could do, the pledge level, called the all-in pledge, and you got that. Now additionally, they offered 1 expansion, Arkham Asylum. Go figure. It's the same form factor as the all-in big box, so it's a little thinner side to side, but this has also a lot of content because it adds a new mode of gameplay called Clayface mode. Now, if you're familiar with the character, Clayface can imitate people. So as you're playing the game, it turns out that one of the heroes is actually a traitor. And at a certain point in the game, you turn, suddenly I'm Clayface and I'm fighting against the rest of you. So it's a whole new way to play the game. It's kind of interesting, and it comes with 15 different miniatures in it. And I think this one actually has Harley Quinn's hyenas in it, which is kind of interesting. She gets them as companions with this one. So adds a whole bunch of gameplay, new things to do. Final thing that came with it, and this was for pledging either of those levels, was the stretch goal box. The stretch goal box is every bit as big as the original box. And again, this one has 6 new heroes in it, so 18 new dice to play with. There's 35 miniatures overall. It's got new map tiles. It's got new scenarios to play. So there's a whole bunch going on here. As far as this goes, a lot of content for this game. Again, a little bittersweet because it's the last game IDW Games is ever going to produce, unless something happens differently in the future. But we're going to take a look at what's in each and every one of these boxes, and we'll take a detailed look at some of the miniatures. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention that was exciting to me, because this is the Adventures Universal Gaming System. In theory, you could mix and match the Ninja Turtle characters with the Batman characters and actually write scenarios. And considering the fact there is a comic book out, a legitimate comic book, Ninja Turtles with Batman, that could actually happen. So it's interesting you can do that in world, and it actually fits into canon for the comic books. So kind of cool there. We'll take a look inside these boxes next.